You're going to wake up one day and realize that you have nothing to show for yourself. So much of your time wasted by scrolling through your phone, only for you to forget about everything you just saw in a few minutes. I imagine for the majority of us, the constant use of our phone is a way for us to escape from reality for a bit. Without realizing it, we fall into an addiction. I woke up the other day and the first thing I did was reach towards my phone like it was some kind of reflex. I can't even remember what I did for the first hour of my day or why I picked up the phone in the first place. Was it to look at the time or something else? The previous night when everybody was asleep, I was still up watching YouTube videos or scrolling through my feed until it was 2 in the morning. Some of these nights my eyes would start to hurt like they were being pulled back to get me off the phone. But I didn't listen. So when I did listen to them, I couldn't sleep right away anymore. I don't think many people realize it, but when you strain your eyes so close to a bright screen, it almost becomes painful to sleep. Which is funny since you would think closing your eyes should help if they hurt a lot. But nah, your eyes have to adjust without a screen for a bit until you can finally fall asleep. Whether you use your phone because you're bored or procrastinating, you need to be aware that your phone is slowly taking your life away. Some of you might know already that an average person spends about 3 to 5 hours a day on their phone. That is between 20 to 35 hours a week, in a year around 1 to 2,000 hours, or about 45 to 75 days. Assuming you just turned 18 and live to be 100, that is around 3 to 6,000 days, or 10 to 17 years of you using your phone. When taking into account the amount of time you use to sleep, let's say 7 hours a day, that is about 24 years of your life. Adding this to your phone usage, that is around 34 to 41 years of just sleeping and using your phone. Essentially, you'll be wasting a big portion of your life by just doing nothing. And even with all this information presented in front of you, you'll still continue to use your phone. As I was growing up, I kept hearing the same phrases over and over again. Hard work pays off, or work smart, not hard, or you gotta work hard. Even though I would hear these phrases, I never actually understood what it meant. So whenever someone would say this to me, if you want to live a good life, you're gonna need to study and work hard for it. Listen, I've had to learn the hard way, but you need to work hard no matter what. If you don't want to end up like me, then you're going to need to work hard to be successful like Morgan Freeman. Otherwise, you're going to end up homeless, a loser, and ridiculed by everyone you know all your life. Blah, 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 I nodded my head along to what they were saying. With nothing much to do as a kid, my only thought to that was, what am I even supposed to work hard on? I guess whatever I learned at school. I already do enough as it is over there, so what's the point of studying more? Sure, I would study 5 to 10 minutes before the day of an exam. But overall, I had pretty decent grades. I was fine with my grades, as long as I didn't fall below 75%, so I continued to do what I've always been doing, the bare minimum. I never experienced what working hard really was all about. For about 2 months, I worked on a piano piece that had been my most ambitious goal yet. I've only been able to play Clair de Lune at most by watching those YouTube tutorials, which are terrible if you're learning to play an instrument. I don't recommend learning from there. This was the first piece I learned to play by reading sheet music, and the first piece that was way above my skill level. I don't know why I agreed to play in front of my whole school, but safe to say when the time came, I fumbled it. Not only were my palms dripping in sweat and my legs spazzing out, but I replayed the opening 3 times. And I still didn't even get the tempo right. I was rushing through the piece as if I just ate some spicy Indian food and needed to go wash it out. The worst part was that it was being broadcasted live, so I went to go see if it was as bad as I thought it was, and it was. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised. I didn't practice as much as I should have, and I was overly confident in my skill. There was no one to blame except for myself. I thought about if I had just practiced a bit more or even tried to learn the song ahead of time, or if I had just worked myself harder, then I wouldn't have had this feeling of guilt, shame, or frustration with myself that for the first time in my life, I failed. I knew I could have played so much better too if I had just spent my time practicing more than being on my phone. I was pissed off with myself. I go back to this moment a couple of times and wonder, what would someone else have done if they were in my shoes? Would they have given up? or kept on going. I'm someone who does not like giving up or giving in to my own self-pittiness, so I did what I had to and locked the fuck in. Instead of wallowing in my own shame, I was determined to be better the next time I would have to play in front of others. My next performance was in 4 months since the last one, and not only did I choose a longer piece, but it was just as hard as the first. Unlike last time, I started practicing way earlier and played for hours on end so that I wouldn't make the same mistake twice. It was to the point where I felt like I was Newman from Whiplash, because once my hands started to cramp up, I just kept playing, pushing myself. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, just imagine the pain from your leg cramps, but in your hands. I practiced every day so that I wouldn't fail again. And when I got on that stage again, I killed it. I was on tempo, playing the right keys, and in the fucking zone. I even started to feel out the music while playing. Shit had me jumping up and down to this beat. Sure, I might have made a hiccup or two, but it was like night and day compared to my other performance. That didn't bother me because I knew I had given it my all. I was proud of myself. With 5 weeks left of class before the semester ended, I had failed 1 of 2 exams, passed 5 out of my 15 quizzes, and basically no participation credit. The way this was looking, I was cooked. There is no way out of this one. I was going to fail. Or so I thought. I passed! Oh yeah! What can I say, guys? I'm just him. Alright, let me take you back to when it all started. I was entering my second year in college, studying for a computer science major, so I needed to take Calculus 1 for my degree. I thought calculus was going to be as easy as pre-calculus, and it was for the first couple of weeks, until I took my first exam. I got a 65, which is a passing grade, but since it was the start of the semester, things will only get harder from here on out. I didn't study at all for my first exam, so for my second exam, I did study more, but I didn't study as much as I should have. I failed my second exam. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that each of my exams were worth about 75% of my grade. That meant that I should have been screwed already. But luckily, my final was worth 2 exams. So after doing some math, I found out I could pass the class with a C if I got a 98% on my final. Yeah, it wasn't looking good for me. I had 2 options. Either I dropped the class or stay to fail my final. Either way, it was looking like I wasted a lot of my time in that class. Like I mentioned before, I'm not a quitter, so with 4 weeks left until my final, I decided to give up. This might sound dumb, which it probably is, but instead of worrying about passing the class, I decided to learn calculus for the fun of it. I wanted to ace my exam even if there was no way to pass the class now, to prove I could have passed the class if I wanted to. So, for the next 4 weeks, I got real busy. Asked my professor for help, got up early in the morning, and stayed up until 1 in the morning sometimes to get enough practice in for the day. This is the most I've ever studied in my life, and let me tell you something. Studying math is the most frustrating experience, especially when nobody is there to help you out. But once you figure it out, it all starts to make sense. Math is just a concept of rules. It is what we call physics, life, the universe, Pythagoras' theory, Isaac Newton's laws of motions, Euclid's foundation of geometry, the area of a cone, the area of a square. What difference does it make when you know it can be found with the area of a triangle, the triangle, the circle, the only 2 shapes that can form every other shape known to man? Once you finally understand that, you start to see that every mathematical equation ever created is used in our day-to-day lives. Then it truly starts to make sense. Everything starts to make sense.
Take the amplified and the reversal, then smash together those 2 different infinities to create imaginary mass.
Imaginary technique. Your teacher was right. Psych! I'm never using this shit again! Anyway, I passed the class because of my goated professor who told me I still had a shot, but I needed to work hard. Shout out to him, and since then, I like math more now. I occasionally do a problem or two so my brain doesn't turn to mush from watching too much brain rot garbage. Now, even though I was failing the class, I still came back on top, getting the second highest grade on the exam with a 97. I passed the class with a B. You can't gain anything without sacrificing something in return. The reason I did better the second time than the first time performing in front of an audience was because I put in more effort. I passed my math class because I decided to do something about it than do nothing. It was not easy. I put in hours of practice, hours to hone my skills, hours of working hard towards my goal. It's a cliche to say it, but it is never too late to start. The problem is not starting late. It is never starting at all. At times, I doubted myself, wanting to give up, but what good would that have done? My or your problems won't go away unless we do something about them. We underestimate ourselves by how much we are able to do. If we really put our minds to it, put in the effort, the work, the time, we are able to do anything. Through failure, we then are able to see what working hard really means. Phone addiction is bad. I'm not saying we shouldn't use our phone at all, but we shouldn't let our phones get in the way of our lives. Technology is getting better by the day to the point where we might actually see a game imitate our real world. Who knows? Like with many things in our world, it can be used to hurt or help others. It all depends if you are able to control or adapt to the situation. So yeah, our phones can make us addicts, but it can also give us a quality improvement in our lives. Or maybe mom was right. The phone really was the worst invention man created to distract us from living good. I recommend watching Abraham Diop's video on how to stop phone addiction and how to stop it from taking over your life. There are multiple videos out there to help you from what you're currently struggling with, but for the purpose of this video, I'll say what I did briefly. Open phone, use phone as usual, check screen time at the end of the day, stop using most used app, repeat process until you can no longer function. Yeah, that's literally it. Before this video ends, I want to thank all of you for watching, liking, and commenting on my previous video. I didn't expect it to get more than like maybe 5k views, so thank you. We were able to get over 100 subs, so thank you to those who subbed. I hope not to disappoint y'all. Anyway, thank you for listening, and let me know what you think of this video or share your thoughts about addiction. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.